Welcome to Superhuman Selling. Today's episode is going to change the way that you think about money and maybe even the way that you cook dinner. I am joined by Shelley Nadel, a certified financial planner and the author of The Wealth Recipe, a culinary guide to financial power. I've got my copy right here, my signed copy, may I add. And you are going to love getting to know Shelley and learning from her today. Shelley is on a mission to make finance digestible, literally, by blending practical money wisdom with the joy of cooking. So, in this conversation, we're diving into how women can rewrite their money story, how they can overcome fear driven financial habits, and learn to trust their intuition as much as their spreadsheets. So, Shelley, welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you here today. And I think that your approach to finance, I'll say this as someone who was financially avoidant for many years, who had a lot of fear, so much guilt and shame around it. And I know I'm not the only one. And I know obviously you serve lots of clients, but I know you have a real heart for serving women. And I know a lot of women can probably relate to that as well, and that experience with money. So we're going to liberate people today. We're going to empower women today as well. And it's going to be really, really powerful. So I would love to hear from you just kind of your why behind this work. And was there a moment where you realized or you felt like women weren't being served by traditional financial conversations that inspired you to really build the brand and the business that you've built today?
That's a great question, Elyse. Thank you. So, my passion for women started when my mother and my grandmother, who were very tiny ladies and very feisty and just carved their own path. And my grandmother in Russia and Poland, when she stood up to the Russian army, all 410 of her. My mother, who was one of three women in her law school class back in the 70s, and so I've always been around strong women. And as you know, I sort of I've had different multiple careers in my life, and the first 20 years of my professional world, I was in the nonprofit and government sector. And when I volunteered and when I got involved, it was always on women's issues. Like I don't even know when it was just my North Star from the beginning. It was like in my DNA. And then when I got into the financial world, it was obvious really quickly that I was one of the few women in the room. And when I was deciding how I was going to approach financial planning and financial services and all that, there was so much masculine energy and language and focus around it. And I was thinking, this isn't working for me. Like this doesn't. And so when I first started in my first job in financial services, it was an insurance company. They asked me, "What is your warm market?" That's what they love to ask. That's the question we all get asked, right? And my family didn't have money. Okay, my friends looked at me as a grant writer, which I was for 20 years. They're all like, okay. So I had no warm market. And so I just said women. And it was the first thing that came to my mind. And it's been I have never wavered from that. And as I say, I have a husband of 34 years, us this weekend. I have a son who I love every day, and like most days, he is 25. So, those of you who are parents, you understand. And I have, now I have 2 male cat. I have plenty of really great male clients and friends, and don't hate them at all. I just believe that women have been underserved financially by the industry, and because of that, they're being underserved in our economy, in our government, in our corporations. You cannot be involved, you cannot lead if you don't have financial power. That is the basics. And I guess another piece of that is my father, who is a very conservative New Englander, although I'm in Houston. So anyway, he ended up in Houston. And he was a CPA, so very math oriented, and he believed the man took care of the finances. And so when he died, my mother knew nothing. My mother was brilliant, knew nothing. I didn't know anything. I went off to school. So I felt like, wow, this just isn't serving women. And I guess the other piece of me is that I just love talking to women. I love hearing their stories. I love relating to them. I feel like my style of financial advice and my style of working and planning with people in this area are much more conducive to how women think and organize their thoughts. And it's just easier for them to relax around another woman. So that's kind of how it all started.
Wow. Well, it's similar to the origin for She Sells, and I say this all the time because we've got so many wonderful men in our community, and I'm a mom of 2 boys and married to a man. We're very similar. We're like, I love men, and it just felt like so much of what was taught in the sales and business world in terms of how to sell and how to make money. So I'm more on the front end of it. You're helping people multiply it and expand it, but it just never felt aligned or right to me as a woman. And so I think anyone listening would understand that and agree with that. Why do you think, Shelley, that women are so disconnected from their money? Not everyone, but a lot of women are still disconnected from their money, and there's so much guilt and shame around it. What is that? Where does that come from?
Yeah, and as you know, I've been working through that myself, right? We got these stories. We have our money recordings in our head, and
Sure.
I mentioned my dad, who was a wonderful man, but I grew up not knowing anything about money because women that was not women's role, and I think it comes from 2 places, Elise. I think it comes, first of all, from the fact that women have been just indoctrinated, to use a long word, indoctrinated into the concept that it's the man's job, and that investing is this aggressive thing, right? And you have to be really tough, and you've gotta be on the trading floor and shouting, and, I love, Trading Places was a great movie, and, with Bill Murray and stuff. I think it was Bill Murray, was doing, they're all yelling at each other and tossing paper and all this stuff, right? And that's just not how most women sort of imagine themselves, and so I think part of it is just the language that's used, the visualization that's used in the industry has just been very male dominated. And advisors have then taken that and have typically, particularly the older advisors, tend to talk to the man in a relationship, even if the woman's the breadwinner. Or it doesn't matter, tend to talk to the man. And that's why so many widows and divorcees get rid of the advisor they had. That's exactly, I've seen numbers as high as 70% because the advisor never talked to the woman. The other piece of it is that we're just too freaking busy. I mean, whether you're a mother, whether you're a business owner, it doesn't matter. We have so many pieces in the air. And because we're not necessarily always intuitively that aggressive, we want more security, we want more stability and longevity. Legacy is very important to us. Then we're like, oh God, okay, fine, just let him do it, right? I'm sure it's fine. Oh my gosh, I hear so many women. Oh yeah, we're doing fine with our advisor. I'm like, well, what does that mean? I ask them,
Mm.
they can't even answer the question. Well, they know they haven't lost money. Okay, well, that's not a measure. Is it helping you get to your goals, to your destination? Do you know what your destination is? Have you even talked about that? So I think it's those 2 things. I think it's the teaching, the positioning of men and money, and women, even young girls, were discouraged from getting into math classes and science classes. Now we're slowly breaking that trend, and the fact that we just have so many things to do. It's the last thing that we want to do is sit down with a pile of bills most nights. We just don't want to do.
Mm.
So exhausted.
Yeah, it makes so much sense, and one of the things that we talk about a lot in the community, and because you're in our mastermind, and you and I work together, for a while now, which is lovely, but our results will never supersede our identity, and
Yes.
so I think about for a woman who wants to step into the identity of being great with money, there's some inner work and some shifts that get to be made there. And I even think about myself. I had the self concept for many years of being a woman who could make money and was good at making money, but I had the belief that I'm bad at managing it. And so I would avoid it. And I even recently, this is, I'll share it because it came up in my own life, but I had a call with my bookkeeper where it almost ended up being like a bit of a therapy session where I shared this experience of growing up, and I love my dad dearly. He's one of my dear friends now, and he used to help me with my taxes when I was in my 20s, and he would always I was in sales, and I would ask about, like, "Can I write this off or can I write that off?" And he would joke, and it was just this way of bonding, but he would always tell me every year when I was filing my taxes, he was like, "You're going to jail, you're going to jail, you're going to
Oh
jail."
my god.
And so it's funny because even up until not too long ago, I realized, "Oh my gosh, I have this, like, internal cringe when it's time to do this because of this subconscious belief that was implanted that, like, I'm doing something wrong with my money or I'm gonna get in trouble with my money on the back end." And so I had a beautiful session with my bookkeeper and I cleared it, and I'm grateful because it helped me, but when you're talking about women stepping into their power with their money, I think this is an important conversation to have. Obviously, on the show, and in our work and in our community, we really help support women specifically, but everyone in bringing in more money and multiplying their money. And I think it's really empowering to have the identity and the belief that I am someone who's phenomenal at multiplying money and growing money, and I'm empowered around that. So I'm curious from your perspective, what is one money myth that you see holding women back the most?
This is actually one of my favorite topics to talk about, and it's also one of my favorite chapters in the book. And it's about risk. It's about how do you define risk and what is risky. So you mentioned a few minutes ago, you talk about, being scared of making a mistake.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, we're human beings. We make mistakes all the time. If you make a mistake with money, oh my gosh, right? And they don't understand that when you're looking at a long picture or a long, timeline, there's plenty of room for making those mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Your advisor's gonna make mistakes. We're not perfect. But we know enough to adjust, and as long as we know where you're going, we have bumpers around where you're going, somewhere in that road, we're gonna get you there. It doesn't have to be exactly a straight line. And so I think that women, they have a lot of fear, and because they perceive investing and the market, because of all the ups and downs, and I mean, it can be very intimidating as being frightening and dangerous. They think that money left in a checking account or maybe a high yield savings account, maybe they're making 3%, that's the safe thing to do. And what I love, love, love to help people. And if, TED Talk is somewhere in the future, TED Talk, and or obviously on stages, we've talked about that. This is going to be my topic. I love this topic. And I love the chapter of making blueberry pie. So anyway,
Yeah.
check it. But it's about, you have to redefine what risky is. It's a lot riskier to have your money in a savings account than it is if you're gonna retire in 20 years, or even if you're not gonna retire, if you're gonna work forever, it doesn't make any I don't care. It doesn't matter. But if you're gonna change what you're doing professionally and, not necessarily being the primary breadwinner or bringing in that kind of income, uh, and if you're gonna do it in 20 years and you're putting your money in cash, you aren't gonna get there. That you are not gonna get there. And we heard a lot yesterday. I was just listening to last night to the speaker about the fact that, real wages have actually declined 17% in the last 25 years, real wages. I mean, that's terrifying. And of course, we know women make less money than men anyway in the same job. So it's if you're not willing to if you look at investing as risky. Now again, there are things that are risky. Okay, I'll put my name on crypto. I don't happen to invest in crypto. Okay, sorry for you guys that like crypto, but I don't. But it's or sometimes real estate, special, real estate deals, things like that that are risky. Investing in the stock market over time is not risky as long as you have the right time frame and you have the right guidance, the right advice. You know what you're doing, or you've hired someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest issue for women is that we're so scared of making a mistake, and so we think we're being cautious, and we're taking on more risk for our long-term financial security. So that's
When when you think about some of your most successful female clients who you work with, what is their mindset around money and investing? I'm really curious. I'm big on borrow someone else's belief. So if you're listening to this and you're not currently a woman or a man who would identify as being really empowered around your money, we always want to go to the mindset first, right? What's the belief that I would need to have if I was going to do that? So when you look at those women in particular who have been really successful, who are working with you, who are investing and are really empowered around their money, what is their belief about money and investing?
they see it as just another strategy, another tool in their tool belt to get to where they wanna get to. Uh, money is you and I have talked about this, and before we met each other, we were using the same language around money. It was incredible. Money is a tool. I try to get women to step back from the emotion of money. As we have masculine and feminine as and there are sometimes I tell women you need to be a little more like a man in this way. You need to be a little more aggressive is not the right word because it sounds like you're being reckless. You need a little more intentional and a little more far-seeking. And it's, so the women that are in my practice that are building and growing their wealth are understand that it's a piece. I'm a certified financial planner, so fiduciary, and I look at the entire picture. I never liked doing I did insurance all one point and investment all one point. I always thought it needed to be together, kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. Or now that food and finance is what we do, a balanced plate of food. We have to have that to remember the food analogy. And and so the women that are successful understand their investment accounts that I'm managing are one piece of their financial success story. That's not the only piece. It could be a big one, but it's not the only piece. They have, there's there's insurance, risk management strategies. They need to have long-term if they have kids, what are you gonna do about school? How are you gonna think about long-term care? I mean, we start having those conversations in your 40s, not because you're gonna do anything financially about it yet necessarily, but so you're thinking about it, right? So it's a piece in the puzzle. And we're so used to as women planning ahead and organizing projects and putting things together. It's the same thing with money. So the women that are doing it well, that we're really good it's a really good partnership, understand that
Yeah.
and don't flip out and call me, with the market. I will say, I'm very proud to say, I have very few clients, if any, that call me when the market's doing.
Mhm.
They're like, "Yeah, we know." I'll call them and say, "Are you okay?" "Oh, yeah, we're fine. We know it's gonna come back. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
So, it's kinda cool. It wasn't always that way, by the way. 18 years in the business. It took me a while to get there, but they're good. And
So and it's funny because it is a common thread between what you do with your clients and what we teach in our community. We talk about money itself is not the vision, it's the how of the vision and putting money in the proper place and letting it be, to your point, a tool, an asset, something that you can use, really making it I think about money as like a game and it's fun and and I think when we can play with it in that energy and move it even emotionally and energetically out of our first energy center, our root chakra, which is safety, security, where we can be kind of in fear and grippy about it, move it into the heart, right? Which is a little bit of a more spiritual approach, but move it into the heart, make it about expansion, make it about love, make it about service, make it about abundance. We get it in the right energy. And so I'm curious, I wanna talk about your book. So your book, The Wealth Recipe: A Culinary Guide to Financial Power. I have been loving reading this and going through this, and I remember when you and I met a little over a year ago at a conference for women in financial services, you showed me your YouTube channel, and you have a phenomenal YouTube channel, through Food and Finance that teaches financial education empowerment for women through analogies and metaphors of food and cooking. And we'll link your YouTube in the show notes. I remember looking at it and thinking, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. I've never seen anyone doing that. I know you hear that a lot, but speak to the inspiration behind that brand and behind this book and what is your approach? How do you blend food and finance together? And what can a woman expect if she's diving into your work and your content here?
well, I have to warn anyone reading the book that once you read it and kinda get it, which, I mean, it's easy to get, once you we are unique, so it takes a minute to kinda process what we're doing. Unfortunately, it's gonna haunt you now. You're gonna be cooking, go, "Oh, man, my advisor just it's just an illness." I have people that do all in fact, one of your consultants actually does it. "Oh god, I was reading this and I thought about this." It's pretty funny. So, how it all started really with kosher chicken pot pie, which is I was doing it was in COVID, it was 21, I was doing just because of my women's group, my sisterhood needed something, we wanted something to do, we were all locked in our homes, and I taught I love chicken pot pie, and when we kept kosher, we had to make some adjustments, and so it was just this Zoom, Hollywood Squares thing. It was very, amateur hour, and I had so much fun, and I guess I knew back then about manifesting a little bit, and I didn't know I knew it, but I knew it, and I was talking about it with a work group I was in, and one of the women said food and finance, and I have always been told being on screen, be on camera, kinda natural in front of an audience, and the reaction was, physically. And what was fascinating to me is every person I said it to, my best friend, my, sisterhood friends at synagogue, whatever, they're all like, yeah, like that. And fortunately, one of those was my sorority sister, incredibly good friend, Terry Heath, and we've been knowing each other for 40 years since college at Dartmouth. And she's a marketing person. And I was not, I was like, "Ah, I can't make money at this. I gotta make money." Couldn't bring fun into what I was doing, right? And she's just like, "I am not letting this go." She loved it. And so because of her and her energy and me being willing to take a step into the unknown, which it was completely unknown, uh, it we started Food and Finance, started filming just in my kitchen, and there was no script. They're a little long. The first few videos a little long. But because it was just so fun. I was chopping vegetables for stir fry and coming up with financial analogies. I mean, it was just so fun. Now we do it a little more, a little more strategically, but we have I think we have over 30 videos or something. I kinda lost track. We've got videos with chefs, and it's not once you start doing it, it's I can come up with an analogy in 30 seconds, something I'm eating. It just because there's so many things about money, and, at least one of the things I talk about is money doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be threatening. It doesn't have to be pie charts and graphs and all this stuff. It can be fun and it can be memorable, and when you remember one of the I think my gifts in this entire the gift I'm giving to the broader world and to women in particular is that I'm teaching you that, you can relax. You can learn about money and not be like, "Oh my god, what they're gonna ask me to do, and I'm terrified, and I don't know everything, so I'm not gonna do anything, I'm frozen." Well, you don't have to do that. You can, uh, make a chocolate pudding with avocado, and it's amazing, and you can learn about debt in the process. It's like crazy stuff, but you once you kinda get past that, "What?"
Mhm.
It's a totally unique way of looking at money that's really more fun. Cooking is universal. We love cooking, you know me in my kitchen, I'm obsessed with it, right?
Yeah.
And, I think that's the if I may say, that's my genius behind it. That's my genius
Mhm.
behind it, is that I understand that if I can make money less threatening and women relax and allow themselves to learn about it and feel competent and empowered by it, it's not that challenging. I mean, you have to know something, and obviously, I believe that you need to hire someone if you're in the right situation, because that's my business. I believe in that very strongly. But even if you don't, even if you do it yourself, you know, it's it's not it's not, rocket science for those of us that aren't rocket scientists. It's just something you just need to learn like anything else. And if you can learn a recipe, you can learn how your mutual fund works. If you can learn how to chop an onion without crying, which I have to give my son credit for, by the way, he taught me how to do that, then you can learn how to, invest in your 401(k). I mean,
Mm.
it's just that easy to connect, but we haven't given ourselves permission to do it. And I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, but particularly ladies out there, you have the power, you have permission to do it. There's no one stopping you from doing this, and have fun with it.
Yeah. I love as you were sharing, I was just thinking about you and some of your journey over this past year too, and how you have manifested and created like your dream kitchen and you're redoing your entire home. And so I think it might be fun to share with people, with our listeners, just a little bit about how you have done that because
Oh, really?
sometimes when someone's listening to you talk, they know about your background. They're thinking, okay, they may think that a financial advisor is just all about investing, that it's all spreadsheets, that it's very linear masculine. Obviously, someone listening to you now, they're going to know that's not the case. But I loved seeing how you blend money, energetics, and wealth, and even manifesting, and how you've done that in your own life over this past year with also investing, making smart financial investments and growth there. But you've manifested this beautiful dream kitchen and your home updates. I think it would be fun to share with everyone how you've done that. You did it in less time than you were expecting, and this is part of the fun of the power of blending masculine and feminine energy with money. So if you want to share that
Oh, of
for
course.
our listeners, yeah.
I mean, I think back a year ago when I met you, almost exactly to the day when I met you. I mean, literally, it was like November 3rd or something like that a year ago. And at that time, I was like, "Okay, I love what she's saying. I need to focus on food and finance." And at that point, I had my financial planning practice and the food and finance initiative, and I hadn't yet wrote the book. I was working on it, but I was kinda stuck, and we hadn't kinda pushed it through. And so, and I saw them as separate. I was like, "Okay, I need to hire her for that. I got the financial planning." And one of the things I learned over this year is that one thing is that I can blend the 2, that the 2 need to I'm not 2 separate people. Food and finance is part of who I am, and it's part of the financial message that I give my clients. It is, it's part of the you are in control. Money is not in control. You're in control. And so I started, internalizing that obviously. And yeah, I started planning maybe in the spring to do this, later at the end of the year when I would have the cash and when I had the money in my bank account and had it all worked out. And then I went to a couple of in-person events and I was just bowled away of some of the power and the growth that some of these women have had. And then, things just started happening. I had I'm kind of I'm a bull in a china shop, those who know me, and I'm also an instinctive, impulsive person. And I mean, not impulsive, reckless,
Yeah.
but impulsive in the sense that if it feels right, I go with it. And I had said it was the summer, and I thought, okay, it's June, book is almost done. Let's just go interview. Let's start interviewing contractors. So I brought and she's a woman. She happens to be Jewish like I am, and walked in my house. I had a very nice house, a very nice kitchen, but it was just dated. And my husband and I were going to stay here, age in place. And so I said, I need more. I think I told you this when we first started working together. I wanted more white, more light, more
Mhm.
brightness,
Yeah.
less clutter. And she walked in and I kind of told her. And within 10 minutes, she got my vision. I manifested her, not even realize what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so we were just like, my husband just sitting back. He's the engineer. He's like, okay, I'm just gonna wait till this is all done. He just didn't get involved. And she left and she's real excited. I said, well, we need to think about it. And she left and I said, is this nuts that I'm thinking of not seeing anybody else of hiring her? He goes, no, not really, which I was surprised and thrilled at. Monday morning, we hired her. And then, well, we can get started anytime you want. I was like, what? So 4 dumpsters of stuff later. Yeah. 3 kids,
Love it.
all their friends, pets, we had a lot to dump. And, in 8 weeks that was the other thing, in 8 weeks, I had basically a brand new house, for all practical purposes, a brand new but every time I walk into it now, it makes me happy, it makes me just feel physically lighter. When I'm in my kitchen, I get to host, I have such a great hosting kitchen now, and I realized during that process, I was kinda down. I don't even remember this. It was about 6 weeks in, and we were living in the house. I don't know if any of you gone through remodeling, but it's really dusty. We had 3 cats at the time. Anyway, all this stuff going on, and it was plodding along, basically. I was like, "God, why am I so down?" And then I realized I haven't cooked in 6 weeks. Didn't realize how important cooking had become to me. And so now, whether it's heating a water for coffee or making a steak or chopping vegetables or making a new recipe, it doesn't matter. I just am so happy in this space, and I didn't worry that I didn't have the cash in the bank.
Yeah.
We have leverage. My husband and I are fortunate to have leverage. We're not, gazillionaires or anything, but we're comfortable, and he's had a great job for a long time, and so we did smart leverage. We know we have the assets to pay it back, and we're doing it in time. We're not doing it ridiculousness, and it just, I gave myself permission because of the work we were doing. I had permission to step forward knowing that it's going to be okay. I know those bills are gonna get paid.
Yeah.
There is no question in my mind they're gonna get paid.
Yeah.
And I can't control the timing. I wish it was sooner than later, but I can't control the timing. I know the universe.
And
Yep.
what's so I love that you shared that, and I think that you're a beautiful model, an example of giving yourself permission to live your life and expand and actually call in your desires even faster than you may have thought was possible, while simultaneously embracing some of the more masculine structures of investing and doing that. So I wanted you to share that because I think we as women the feminine is about the and, it's about I can do this and this. And it's an empowering place, I think, for women to land where they may think, "Oh, I can't, buy the Prada and have have a successful retirement." I'm a big stand I'm big on taking a stand for both and. How can I do both? So, I just appreciate your modeling there, and it's so fun to see you in your new space. And I wanna ask you, so just one final question, and then I'll have you share with everyone where they can connect with you, how they can learn about working with you as an advisor and get the book. So, I know one of the things that you teach, and you even shared it here when you talked about making the decision to move forward on your remodel and your kitchen upgrades as well, is really trusting your bodies. And you teach women to listen to their bodies and their gut when it comes to their finances, not just being in their heads. So I'd love if you could share just as a closing message to the women listening, how do we start to do that? Why does that matter? And what difference will that make for us in our financial futures?
So I will say that, and everyone has their own faith message, their own faith belief. In my case, I've always believed that I've Hashem, God is above me, and I believe that when I have that feeling, that gut, I've always thought that was God talking to me, saying, "Okay, I'm pointing in the direction. You still have to make the choice, but I'm giving you the direction." And so I've always felt that not listening to that, I've never succeeded when I didn't listen to that. Okay, now is there room for planning and stepping back and considering? Of course there is. That's why I married an engineer, so we kinda balance each other there. But I really feel like the more you trust yourself, and I have, as I'm in my 60s now, and I feel like the older I've gotten, the more I've said, I really do trust myself. I know what I'm doing. I know what's right for me. And so even if you're not at that stage of wisdom, maturity, whatever that means to you, if you just give yourself permission to trust yourself. I mean, we are so always taught that someone else knows better for us, right? And so when I'm working with women, when we're working in the financial planning space, it's don't I and this is actually came from a man and a couple, but I was referred by a friend of mine, someone I said, I'm a singer. I love singing, and I had a choir member that we sang for like 8 or 10 years together. I haven't seen her. She's not a client. I mean, we've never done any work together. And she referred a colleague who was retiring, and they became clients actually last week. They were moving the paperwork forward. And he said, I mean, they'd never had an advisor. And he said, and she confirmed that, the reason why is Deborah, who was my friend, said, and we believe I'm if you're candid with people, I'm always very direct and candid. I don't believe that my job is to be someone's friend. I personally have a ton of friends. I don't need more friends. I mean, I'm happy to have them. I'm not feeling that urge. And clients, I'm sure they have plenty of friends. They don't need me as their friend. They need me as their trusted advisor who will give them the tough information. And he said, "We know you're going to do that. Like, we know, we feel it. Not only were you referred by someone that we trust, but we can tell that you're honest and you're straightforward and you're not going to be, I won't, we're recording. I won't BS, you're not going to BS us." And so I think that if if I can get if women, when they come in the room, if I can get them to just take a breath, it's just money. Yeah, it's scary. It can be scary and intimidating. I've gone through that. I mean, I've liquidated a 401(k). I have made all the mistakes. And I tell women, you're gonna make mistakes. And I've made some doozies. And I'm still here. And I'm good. And I got my new house. You can do it too. And just meet them where they're at and not try to show off all the fancy language and all that stuff. It's just blech. Draw it on a piece of paper sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's easier to do it that way. And then just listen. Honestly, if you just listen to your advisors, you listen to your doctors, listen, but question, but, trust but verify. Don't accept everything they say at face value. If something doesn't feel right, say something. If you don't understand something, make them tell it to you again. Do not sign something when you feel that, you know, but don't be scared of signing something either. I guess that does that answer right? If I kind of went in a little bit of a circle there, but this is a great question. Such a great question.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful, and I think it brings everyone back into their power to say, "I don't care where I'm starting. I don't care what my past experience has been. I'm gonna start having fun with this. I'm gonna start embracing this. I'm gonna start learning and educating myself, and simultaneously, I'm gonna trust my gut. I'm gonna trust my inner knowing. I'm gonna know that I have divine guidance, wisdom, intuition, whatever someone's take and perspective is on that, and that can be part of my financial plan as well." And so, I think it's beautiful. I'd love if you could share with everyone, Shelley, how they can connect with you if they wanna learn more about your financial planning business, or if they wanna get the book, follow you on YouTube. We'll link all your social, but please share how someone can connect with you more from here.
it's really fun to be out there, right? I have a YouTube channel. Oh, has my follow the YouTube mom. Yeah, I know. Kids love our kids. So yes, I've been on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. We have a ton of videos out there. Just look for Food and Finance with Shelley. You'll see Food and Finance High School, and then you'll see Food and Finance with Shelley. I don't ask me where the high school. I probably should check in with them at some point. I keep saying that. As far as I'm on LinkedIn, you can always find me on LinkedIn, been there for decades. And my planning practice, what I'm looking for, we've talked about ideal clients, a woman who's the right client for me, and I have to be the advisor for them, and they have to be the right client for me. So it has to be a really strong partnership. Is someone who, wants to understand their money, but doesn't feel like, also takes advice and doesn't feel like micromanaging every decision. They're comfortable letting someone take the lead. They communicate. That's the biggest thing. They're willing to communicate, good or bad. Doesn't matter. If you're upset with something, just tell me. And, someone who's got a vision financially. A lot of us think, well, if they've got a lot of money, they clearly know what they're doing. Oh, my goodness. That is so not the case. So not the case. So just because you have a lot of money or an executive does not mean you know, sometimes you're even less strong, less comfortable with money than because you keep making more. So there's that. I have my website is Radiant Partners. I'm affiliated with a firm in Memphis we're in a network that has over 3 billion in assets, advisors all over the country, and you can find me. You can just search for me; it'll come up LinkedIn or radiantpartners.net. You can learn more about the firm and how we practice. And then, the book is on Amazon and Kindle. I haven't done we're gonna do an audiobook. I haven't done it yet, so I apologize, but, and the book has QR codes. You can, get into the YouTube. If you get the book, you can do the YouTube, however the YouTube. I just did that. I said the YouTube. My children are gonna be so mortified when they hear me saying that. What do you
Give them something to laugh about.
Yeah, but something to laugh about. So, yeah, it's fun, and I encourage people. The book we're getting close to holiday time, and there's all kinds of fun things you can get for the holidays, whether it's Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever it is, birthdays. Think about giving this book. It's an easy read. We deliberately made it easy to read, quick read, and to yourself, also to your grown children or your teenage children or your grandchildren.
Mm.
It's written on a level that not little kids, but, teenagers and up can understand it. The biggest gift you can give to your kids is to help them be financially empowered
Mm.
when they're that age and not wait until they're our age to figure it out. So, I'm not that you're younger than I am, but anyway, so
I'm with you. I'm with you. I feel like regardless of where you're starting to know these things early is a true gift.
yes.
And so we'll link everything in the show notes. Again, the book is The Wealth Recipe: A Culinary Guide to Financial Power, and I am so grateful for you, for your time, and just excited for my listeners to dive in and get to know you and your work. And so, thank you again for being here. Thank you for being a member of our community and just for the beautiful, brilliant work that you're bringing into the world.
Alright, well, thank you. This is great. You and I could just talk forever, so and we have over dinner in the haunted house. Can't forget about the haunted house.
We have many stories that perhaps we will do
Will
another
never be told.
podcast about. Yeah, or we will just never tell. But we thank you again so much. And to you, my listener, I want to just encourage you, go connect with Shelley, get her book, follow her on YouTube. We'll link everything below. And if you're looking for a phenomenal partner and advisor to help you on your journey, then we'll link Shelley's website as well so you can connect with her and have a conversation there too. So, in closing, I want to thank you as always for being a listener of the podcast. And I want to remind you to trust yourself on your path to success. Remember that your desires are green lights leading you and everyone around you to a brighter future. I'll see you on our next episode.